Hello again, gang. Welcome to Sunday. I'm sharing a bit of progress here. We'll see if I can get more done before the actual video, but that remains to be seen. You can see I'm censoring the Pikmin and the rocket, but Olimar is still just Olimar. We'll see how much that ends up mattering. I removed the debug stuff, but you can see the Pikmin come in, and then they know to restructure their group as the group gets bigger, as we've explored before. When you throw them, the collisions have changed so they don't interact with Olimar while they are being thrown. However, after they are thrown, they are interactable again, which we'll see in just a sec. And you can see they come forward in line to be the next person to get thrown, which I think is pretty cool. So you can see they have that little weaving queue. Now, for some reason, when you throw them too quick, they come back to where they were, and I think that has to do with the throwing logic, which I haven't touched since Wyatt did it. I will need to take a look at that, so there's room for improvement there. However, if I walk into them, this is in lieu of a whistle. In the actual game, you can whistle a large group, or you can just bump into individual Pikmin, and then they rejoin the group. And you can see they rejoin at the back of the group. If they were distinguishable, we would see that they are not joining where they were in the group previously, which I think is pretty cool. And then we can see this guy here, he will join at the back of the group. Boop. So if we were to pick them up in the reverse order that we throw them, so here we go, this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then we pick them up in reverse order, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they just join the group wherever it makes sense to. So the collisions are better now. They still kind of bump into me when I walk, but they don't prevent me from walking, which I think is how it should be. The Pikmin should never be in the way of Olimar. We will look at the code briefly. So check Pikmin recruitment. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do this with the default collision masks, which was a little frustrating. So currently layer 1 is the player, and then layer 2 is the Pikmin, and then layer 3 is the environment. But I wasn't able to get this done with just those. The AI wasn't helpful either. So there's just this recruitment shape, which is this invisible cylinder on Olimar, and if the Pikmin is idle or waiting, which there isn't really a nuance between currently, then they will get added to the group. And this code here gets repeated a lot when the Pikmin get added to the group, so there's room to make another function there. And the same thing happens either when we dismiss or throw them. It's kind of the reverse. State idle, they don't have a follower, they don't have something to follow rather, and we remove it from the squad and we add it to the idle. And then when we throw them, we have to remove them from the squad and add them to the idle and erase them from the list. And I'm realizing now that we don't set their follower to null here, which kind of shows that it might not be required. I'll cut this off here. Okay, and the last bit for the day before I have to call it here. Check this out. I can throw the Pikmin. No big deal. They're pretty happy with where they land, although some of them go flying, and they seem to still come back. But this is progress anyway, but now I have a whistle, which I can do with B on the controller, or I can press C on the keyboard, or easiest, I can right click. And then if they touch that, it's not perfect, you can see it's kind of hovering above the ground a little bit, but it works. We throw them out, we whistle them back, we throw them out, and they know where they want to be in line. How about that? And then I come back here. It's progress, folks. This took me longer than I'd like to admit to get working, but I'm pretty happy with it. It seems like if I'm moving when I throw them, they don't seem to be too happy with their landing position. Like if I go like this. No, those guys are fine. So that's fixed. And then if I run back with the whistle, we're fine. Those ones that got thrown into the stratosphere, though, they seem to, yeah, look at that. They seem to get kind of confused. That guy way out there, he's a little confused. But in general, I'd say we're in pretty good hands. Okay, folks, last phase here. I figured I'd zoom in on the code. That might make it a little more visible. But we'll start in the 3D world. I've got it now so that the group size grows and shrinks. I brought those debug points back. But the point is, we've seen it grow before, and that's all fine and dandy. But the different thing now is that it shrinks as it gets smaller. So we'll get it about that big. And then we'll start throwing. And you'll notice that there, it just shrank, and there, it just shrank again, which is, again, more like how the game actually worked, which is really nice. And the reason I zoomed in on the code is because I am looking to show the code on this because there was room for improvement. And if you're a programmer, you'll know what I mean. So back to the code again. So this here, I was generating the grid that the Pikmin fall into every single time a Pikmin enters. And because this is super early in the project, it wasn't that big of a deal, but that's the type of thing that can slow a game down in the long run. I can't prove how many frames I'm saving, but again, this is so early I won't have to worry about losing frames to it later. So again, we've got these layers here from the Minecraft circle generation nonsense. Again, the first 12 is 2, 4, 4, 2. I'm not going to read out the rest, but now it's in a 2D array. So that the squad layers has 5 items, and they are the 5 layers that are used by the same generation code that I had before. And I hard-coded the max Pikmin limit, so now it doesn't even throw an error saying you have more Pikmin than you should. It just doesn't make them anymore. So when we start, we pre-generate the positions, and this way we only have to do this once ever, and I can change the numbers, I could change the grids, whatever, but as soon as the game starts it generates them and then we don't have to do it again. So if we had squad formations ahead of time, we clear them, and then the follow count up until the max Pikmin count. So this generally makes 100 of them. An add follow point is still here. We still want to instantiate it, we still want to give it a default position, and we still want to give it a name based on its number for debugging purposes, but otherwise we don't give them a position. So this pre-generate squad for all of the potential layer groups in this 2D array. So for these 5 layouts that the squad can have, that's only 5 of them, then what we do is we call generate follow positions on that layer, and then we add the new formation to the formation. So the awkward part is that we have to have both a list of potential like numbers that generate the shape, but then also we need a list of the actual world space positions for them to actually go into. So generate follow positions, this has always been the same, and this is the code that the AI wrote, so I'm not as good as explaining it, but we know it works, we've seen it a million times. And then determine grid got a lot simpler. So however many Pikmin there are, whenever a Pikmin adds or leaves the group, we just do a real quick check, depending on the group size, and I don't think there's any way to optimize this further. If we're less than 13, we're 0. If we're less than 25, we're 1, etc. And these returns starting at 0, that's just a programming thing where the first in the group is 0. For programming reasons, I don't have a good way of explaining it, but that's how it goes. And then this debug line here where 101 is too many Pikmin, that doesn't happen anymore because when you add a Pikmin, it checks to see what the current total is, which is pretty cool. And then whistling Pikmin is just how we add them back to the group and such. And then the update Pikmin follow targets, this is the only potential opportunity for improvement. So every time the Pikmin are added to the group, they have to determine where they're from again. However, this doesn't do any generation. It just says Pikmin 1 goes to Pikmin 1's position, Pikmin 2 goes to the second position, etc. It doesn't generate new positions. So this still could be more efficient because technically the first Pikmin doesn't really need to relearn its position when the 50th Pikmin is added. But again, because we're not generating new positions, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So that's the final of these 3 sections that I was doing for this week. It's currently Tuesday, and it's looking pretty dang good. I think I'm about ready to make the Pikmin actually do stuff like carry stuff back. And I'll be honest, once they're carrying stuff back and the stuff they carry back makes it so that they make more Pikmin, that's a huge chunk of the game done. Because then you just put obstacles in front of the things that you carry back to make more Pikmin, and then you have to clear those obstacles with more Pikmin, and then pretty much the entire game has been made. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully this time next week they'll be carrying nonsense like this melon right here. Thanks for watching.